Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name is Anashi Sasuke, and welcome back to Reading 001. So, part of the reason I stopped doing 001 was because I thought that people didn't really care about him and just wanted me to get back to the main stuff. And the other part was that this one was going to be really long, and then the third part is just the fact that it seems like every October to November for the last few years, I just stopped making content. I don't know why it keeps happening, but it's been affecting some series. So this one, it's going to have a bunch of multiple stories on it, and they seem to be on the longer side. I did actually start recording this at one point, but I stopped because it looked like it was going to be more than I could handle at the time. But let's go again. So we're at Kalinin's proposal, having finished Ouroboros finally after that the few episodes back. I think Ouroboros was like 12 episodes by itself. So, 2. Site directors list serve, research directors list serve, mobile task force captains list serve, area subcommand list serve, department heads list serve, from verified overseer account regarding SCP-001 urgency high. We need all attention on dealing with the current situation now. The first part is to put the rumors to rest and to get you all to focus on what we're doing next. This is the first and last time any of you will see an official transcript from an O5 vote. There will be no questions. The file for 001 is attached. We classified it this morning. Go out there and keep buying us time. Verify code number. Record of decision. Overseer Council number 1647, Con 5. Motion as follows. Proceed with contingency plan 27985 to distribute means of effective suicide to global population in order to spare all interested civilians from SCP-001. Yay, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 11. Nay, 2, 5, 8, 13. Abstain, 1, 6, 12. Result, motion fails. So that's how many said yes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 said yes. 4 said no. So it's 7 to 6. Motion fails. And I don't know if I should check the contingency plan. Let's just for the sake of reading the whole thing. Oh, the contingency plan is an SCP. Okay, I'm not there yet. So, first up is Harbinger Doc. How long is Harbinger Doc? It's not that long. 052 carefully arranged the surgical mask over her face, tugging the disposable fabric this way and that, ensuring that her mouth and nose were covered completely. She bent down and eased off her black pumps, exchanging them for a pair of sterile slippers. A set of gloves and a disposable cap were on the table next to her. Is this really the extent of protocol for interacting with a 400-year-old man? Said the overseer as she looked down at her new shoes with disgust. You're worried about protocol at a time like this? Dr. Zhang adjusted his glasses as he examined the tablet in his hand. A time like this? What could you possibly know about that? You live in a separate world from us. That's exactly what Existential Isolation Facility Beta was designed for. 052 tucked her long silver hair under the cap, pushing individual strands away from her forehead and up underneath the protective garment. Overseers aren't supposed to be here. Should I even ask why that rule is being waived today? No, you shouldn't. She pulled the latex gloves onto her hands, insinuating the end of her sentence with a tight snap. And don't. The overseer and the site director passed the rest of their time preparing in silence. A soft chime and a green icon flashing on the director's tablet indicated that the subject was ready. Dr. Zhang began to speak. 052 spoke instead. No recording devices, no one else. 052 held her security pass up to the reader and on the hermetically sealed door. Latches clicked open as her card was acknowledged, air rushing past them from the positive pressurized antechamber. She looked one last time at Dr. Zhang. I was never here. Do you understand? The site director nodded. 052 didn't bother to wait for acknowledgement as she proceeded into the main chamber. I was about to say it feels like I've read this before. I know I've read this before, but now I'm wondering whether or not I've already uploaded this piece of this 05? Sorry for the delay, I'm just checking. Let's see. Readings entry 12 through 14. So for one, it looks like it's been 9 months since the last time I've done one of these. Oof. But also just that it's possible that this is already in that last video, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Just like it's been long enough that I should probably read it again anyway. The second door sealed behind her automatically. Before her was a man in a hospital bed, at the center of a mass of tubes, wires, and specialized lifts designed to enable movement with the least possible effort. She only knew that this was a man because she had read the file. The person before her was a shriveled husk of cobweb, thin strands of hair, and translucent spotted skin. Machines registered respiration and heartbeat, assuring anyone who cared to listen that this was a living creature. She sat in the chair placed at the ancient man's side by the research staff. A speaker was wired to the bedside railing next to the man. "Goodbye, SCP-411. The wasted old man moved his lips, faint noises wheezing out of him, captured by the small microphone next to his mouth. Held in place was surgical tape. Several seconds elapsed before a monotone voice emerged from the speaker, reconstructing and interpreting his barely perceptible words. "You are the first of the quiet times. Some peace and quiet, finally." 052 parsed the response. Not an answer to any questions she might ask, no causality issues yet. The monotone voice resumes. "Suffering, cruelty, the currency by which the world is purchased. Everything that you are is a reflection of this. You will remember the true nature of cruelty in time." She had to be careful now. This sounded like something. She went through the checklist of questions she had prepared, mentally forbidding herself from any desire to deviate from the script. She read aloud the question that she thought would fit the answer best. "What is the price that we will need to pay for this?" She didn't like the stilted manner of this conversation. 052 watched a thin stream of spittle trickle out of the corner of 411's mouth as his lips moved. She waited for the transcription. "Your kind did not just appear in my path. I recognize your faces. All of my life I've seen faces like yours. Not full of fear and desperation and hate like the faces of my recent years, but joy. The happiness of untroubled days, illumined by a different star. Your future is clear in my past. You have been and you will continue to be." A different star. This was consistent with the data from the newest determinative set that had been examined. The nature of how it would occur was murky, as all data from 2003 were, but the possibility that escape from 001 was an option had been tantalizingly coming into focus for the past several weeks. There was a future after all. She started to speak the question to the answer. She was cut off by monotone clipped laughter from the speaker. Something about it chilled her. She started again. 411, does humanity exist in your past?" Her feelings of relief collided with the unnatural flow of the conversation. Her elation at being able to believe in another path forward was cut with something that felt like poison inside her. Nothing about this interaction felt right. Many items provided glimpses of the future. All of them distorted those events through the madman lenses of their creators, human and otherwise. The future was forbidden from the central planning process, but 052 felt the need to make an exception given the vote that was before them tomorrow. The speaker crackled once more, breaking her thoughts. "A barren rock, home to terrors beyond imagining. It is well that life has fled. It is even better that life for others continues far away from this place." Well, the next response was an easy one then. She sighed, annoyed with the rules of this game despite the awful gravity of the situation. "Is there a future for humanity on Earth?" That was the last non-pleasantry she had been planning on asking of the decrepit humanoid. Precious little material, but apparently an extended conversation would kill someone of this advanced age. Then they'd all be truly screwed. She waited a few more moments while the time-wasted man gasped words inaudibly in his own slow time. Her vote tomorrow was decided now. She began to formulate the beginnings of the argument she would make to her peers. How she would reconcile the planet of hands, This is what we are to speak of. I am from there, you know, as are you, child. You shall know more of it in time. I'm glad to be here now instead. 052 sighed. Senility hadn't been mentioned in the file, but it was certainly to be expected from someone who had racked up multiple centuries of life. A brief thought occurred that perhaps 411's other answers should be reconsidered. She banished it quickly. Any chance, no matter how slight, was better than tomorrow's proposal. She focused herself on convincing the others. Greetings, prodigal daughter. Unlike me, you will be home soon. The ancient face on the bed twisted into something resembling a polite smile, like she had just walked into the room. That was her cue, thankfully. Greetings, SCP-411. 052 promptly stood up, turned around, and left the chamber. Okay, next up is SCP-001. So I guess it's to actually find out what the thing is. Well, it's Keter, obviously. From the 23rd of December 1971 to the 2nd of November 2016, 001 was contained by the existence of 2798. Based upon yesterday's cessation of 2798, emergency containment measures are in effect until further notice. These measures include sustained containment efforts of anomalous phenomena by any means necessary, with priority given to those most likely to cause elevated loss of life and/or severe damage to human belief and rationality. Research into means of bringing about the sequence of events shown to be possible in the newly documented determinative set XZ, which is SCP-2003, which I'm not at yet. Isolation of any communication attempts with Foundation staff or civilians originating from SCP-001. Personnel are to monitor this file continuously for any future directives. Description: SCP-001 is a sapient entity or entities capable of initiating and exerting control over anomalous phenomena on Earth and in all regions of space observable thus far by modern scientific methods. It is hostile and is believed to be motivated by a desire to cause profound distress and suffering to humanity on a planetary scale. The methodology of 001 in achieving this goal appears to include undermining large-scale human institutions and specifically eroding belief in a rational consensus reality. Anomalous activity has been documented by the Foundation since its inception in blank, and evidence exists of such activity dating back to the beginnings of recorded history. However, shortly after the formal establishment of the Foundation, this activity increased sharply, and early statistical models suggested a coordinated actor behind a significant amount of documented anomalies. The presence of an agent causing this phenomenon was confirmed in 1953. Communication was received from 001 by the Foundation in early 1954, demonstrating that 001 possessed sapience and intelligence that was sufficiently analogous to humans to enable a meaningful transfer of information. The records of this communication are limited to level 5 clearance at any time. At this time, this kind of sounds like it's the voice on the phone from Ouroboros, but who knows? I guess people who've read 2003 would know. Upon receiving the communication from 001, Project Serapis, later known as 2798, was initiated. This project is believed to have interfered significantly with its ability to locate and perceive humanity and Earth during its lifetime, accounting for a sharp decline in the rate of new anomalous phenomena and fewer anomalies of a high-impact nature. With the cessation of 2798, 001 has succeeded in locating and properly identifying the population of Earth and resumed its direct influence over anomalous activity on Earth and local environs as of November 2nd, 2016. This has taken the form of newly documented anomalies as well as the spontaneous disappearance and reappearance outside of Foundation custody of previously contained phenomenon, and new iterations that have been altered to apparently cause greater amounts of difficulty and containment and heightened psychological impact upon Foundation personnel and civilians. A developing list of altered phenomena within existing SCP destinations is attached to this file. So it's kind of sounding like that the purpose of this 001 is to show why there's so many more articles since I started, and also why some of them have been changing. Because they have been rewriting some of the SCPs, and there's also like 2,000 to 3,000 more of them since I started this series. So it's sounding like this 001 proposal is just meant to be an in-universe explanation for why that's happening. Let's see. The precise nature of 001 itself is unknown at this time. Available sources of information suggest that it is alive, occupies a plane of existence either similar or identical to that observable by humanity, displays a form of intelligence organically similar to that of humans, or adapted to be such, and possesses an intimate understanding of human psychology. The purpose behind its manipulations of local reality is not discernible with current information. No means are now known of interfering directly with SCP-001. So, situational updates. The first one is a lot of databases are compromised. Apollo 62 hosts 001 and will probably be the last to go down in the event of a total collapse. Use this space to back up any bolters you've been sending out. Our Armitage Chief Information Officer. The organism to which the SCP-058 belongs is now in its holding area. Additional security personnel requested immediately. And which one was SCP-58? Keter. The heart with legs. Is anyone else able to contact Site-77? We need details ASAP. Okay, November 3rd, 2016, Force Readiness Report. Combat-capable forces in Zone 8, 692 personnel, 19 units. This message is automatically generated. Any IT folks who see this, get those pictures of all the 439 instances down off Imager now. So this is 1 day later. I'm trapped in my office and I cannot access any other database. Send assistance to Area 7, please hurry. System error, message lost. The entirety of the Ursa Minor constellation is no longer observable in the night sky. Please update all navigation software accordingly. Requesting permission to counterattack SCP-1000 instances occupying Lilac, Oregon. We will engage in 15 minutes if we continue to receive no acknowledgement from command. So they're apparently about to... There's a war with Bigfoot. There's no message here. Site-17 is lost. Evacuate all remaining personnel. Disregard all their communications saying otherwise. Do not send any more personnel within 100 miles. I am personally redirecting all remaining disinformation units on the continent to put a natural disaster narrative out ASAP. Verified overseer account. Let's see. Nightingale 528. All staff are instructed to stop thinking about squids or octopi immediately. Staff overseeing cephalopod like SCP objects are instructed to destroy them as soon as feasible. This message has been transmitted in a grade B subconscious suggestibility modality cognitohazard. Staff recalling the entirety of this message are ordered to seek amnestic treatment immediately. Do not think about octopi or squids. AAA Appendager HHH 53893. To all embedded agents within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the code word is whatever that is. I repeat, it is whatever that is. You read that correctly. Identity redacted. Do not abandon Site-17. I remind you that the punishment for desertion is summary execution. Verified overseer account. Distress signal received. Unable to respond. Sorry. This is an automated message. The communication network for Site-23 is non-operational at this time. This is the likely cause of fire / explosion / other. You will be notified when the network is back in working order. Please do not respond. Please sign up today for the Site-81 holiday potluck. No paper plates or cups, please. Town of Lilac is back under control. Massive casualties. Need medevac and a disinformation team ASAP. Times of India website has been taken down. Checking to see if other news outlets need to be taken offline. Stand by. False alarm. No need for further action. Everything is fine. We are activating the failsafe now. Our people have done all they can. Keep on fighting, everyone. Cancel the order for the replacement Suzuki GSX R1000 chain. Found one at the local motorcycle shop. Bike works fine. All personnel at Site-35 are instructed to stay away from maximum security Morgue 3A until containment specialists have finished constructing the barrier. The site lockdown continues until we can find SCP-2996. We will discuss who's responsible for yesterday's unauthorized transfer afterwards. I am in the secure control room with Captain Hughes' credentials and a lot of blood on my lab coat. I don't remember what the contents of the message I'm supposed to send are. If anyone knows, that would be good. The day will come when this Earth will be substituted with a new Earth, and also the heavens, and everyone will be brought before God, the One, the Supreme. Allah preserve us. Or is it Allah? Allah. I don't know how to correctly pronounce it to not upset people. November 3rd, 2016, Force Readiness Report Update. Combat-capable forces in Zone 8, 15 personnel, 0 units. This message is automatically generated. Do not respond. Okay, you can let the news crews back into Angkor Wat now. Christ. Apollo 62 is experiencing difficulties. We're limiting it to 001 critical activities now. Please use whatever backup systems are available to you. Watch yourselves out there. TS-001 eyes only. So, pre-Seraphis description. SCP-63, plastic toothbrush labeled the world's best toothbrush capable of removing from existence all dead and inorganic matter that comes into contact with the bristles. After Seraphis, an unidentified humanoid advertising itself as the world's best dentist. Entity has been known to appear at low-cost dental service facilities and is capable of generating a localized time anomaly used to make the entity and its patient experience time at a much slower rate than the outside world. Prior to amnesticization, patients have reported experiencing dental procedures lasting in excess of 2 to 3 days during relative time periods of 10 to 15 minutes by outside observation. Affected subjects uniformly report healthy teeth and gums. Let me check that one. Let's see. So it's still saying it's a toothbrush. So I guess there's not actually any... None of the stuff in here are actual SCP changes then. There have been SCPs that are actually changing, though. An unending stairwell at Blank University. Host to an unknown hostile entity. Now it's an unending stairwell at the United States Department of Defense headquarters, aka the Pentagon. Host to an unknown hostile entity. Of note, unlike the previous iteration of this anomaly, 87 has been observed to open the doorway to its entrance of its own accord. 106 was the old man, or Radical Larry. Hostile humanoid with corrosive effects on nearby matter, utilizing transdimensional space manipulation to capture prey. Okay, that's a lot of SCPs have changed, and I don't think it probably does not actually matter to read these. If you want me to come back and read these, let me know in the comments, but I feel like it probably does not actually matter. So, continued deliberations. 052 let the email alert fade from her terminal screen without opening it. She already knew that the Foundation had suffered more casualties in the past 24 hours than all of the last 5 years put together. The only thing reading the details would accomplish would be the sapping of her resolve. The path forward was clear. Ensuring a future was worth any price. She wished she could tell each field commander personally, "We're certain about this, just hold the line." Then again, desperation was on her side. People had a remarkable tenacity in the face of death. Nobody needed to remind anyone of what the consequences of failure were. The large video monitor on the wall beside her chimed with an incoming video conference notification. 053. She buried her face in her hands. Did she not get her fill of vitriol during the council vote? Knowing 053, it was quite likely. She sat up. Internecine warfare was one of the few ways the council had to amuse itself in this world. Even now, those habits died hard, maybe especially now. She motioned at the screen and 05's dark, lined face was on her wall. "Votes over 3. You lost. Does that still make you mad?" The woman on the screen sighed. "What I am is scared, too." It had not been a full 2 days since 2798 had gone down, and the toll had been horrific. There was no way that current operations were sustainable for more than a week. Fear was probably the only reasonable response. "Telling someone else that you're frightened isn't very therapeutic in our line of work, 3. Fear is contagious. Can I do something for you?" 053 leaned a little closer to the monitor. "You blocked the vote. You cut off our exit." "Oh, bullshit! There were plenty of us with doubts, but none with the certainty of yours. 5 and 13 were never going to vote for it anyway, but 6 and 12 would have. I talked to them before. I know that you talked them out of it." "That's still not enough. 1 was the difference, and even you can't tell me that I can make 1 bend to anything." 053 sighed again. "Look, that doesn't matter, I guess. It's done, and that's that, but you owe me something, too." "Do I?" 052 moved closer herself now. "I owe you something for not letting you kill everyone. You're beyond absurd. I'm done with this now." "Wait, please. I need to know." 053 paused a moment while she forced out the question. "I need to know what you know. I need you to tell me why we didn't just make the worst mistake in the history of the world. The real reason, too." 05's hand hovered over the red button to end the call. She pulled it back. "I went to the precog items. I peeked." The revelation washed over 053's hard features, her determined upper lip and furrowed brow softening as her face betrayed shock. It was the first time 052 had seen her face like that. You didn't? That can't possibly be. Is it really that hard to believe? With the gun in your own mouth, you're not the least bit curious about how things might turn out if you don't pull the trigger? Yes, I'm aware of the prohibitions. Who cares about that now? Are you going to report me? Requisition the detail to come and detain me in the middle of all of this? 053 sat in silence. There was no arguing the point. So what did you see? You know what it's like, 3, being old. Ideally, you learn not to delude yourself with false hope. Resign yourself. You remember the old 11? His obsession with uploading his consciousness like he could cheat death? Ridiculous. He was ridiculous. 2 trailed off, the wild eyes of the former 0511 haunting her for a moment. But this... We've always fought to preserve what is, 3. We've never thought about what could be. What do you mean by that? All of the precog items point to a future. I haven't seen how we get to it, but it's not just survival. I saw great spires of glass that pierce the clouds. Unspoiled landscapes, great flocks of birds passing through cityscapes built into mountaintops. I've seen people who don't fear sickness and death. No wars, no poverty. She grew more animated. All of the anomalies under our control that can tell us anything have all showed me this place, that it exists. Someone survives to make it out, to make it there. 053 looked skeptical. It's a very different place than the one we're seeing now. It's a different planet. We know that much. Do you think that we're going to be able to mount a space colonization mission when we can't even keep ourselves alive right now? No, probably not, said 052, but at some point someone does. And I want to give whoever that is the chance to do that. Don't you see? There's a point to all of this now. There's no end goal for humanity. There's an end goal for humanity. More than just living another night. Our children will have a chance not just to live, but to live in peace. Isn't that worth continuing on? That seems very ideal, doesn't it? Said 053. Almost like it's designed to stay our hand. What reason do I have to make this up? And it was useless as a tool to influence the council. If I had been brought this up during the vote, I very well would have been detained then. You do seem to believe it, 053 frowned. You know that these things, they can be very untrustworthy. 1 or 2, maybe they come up with the same deception, 052, but all of them? Vanishingly unlikely. Some of these things are kept in separate realities. No, this is all pointing to something, and I believe it is true, or rather, I believe in it enough to keep going for the chance to make it real. 053 was silent for a moment. She swallowed. You know that we've already had 2 activations of SCP-89 in 2 days? 052 took a moment. No, I did not know that, and really, I would prefer not to know things like that, she went on. Nothing we're doing now is anything that we haven't been called upon to do before. It's harder, but it's the same thing. We've always tried to preserve some sort of future, and now that we've got proof of it, we can't stop now. Proof? 053 said quietly. God, I hope you know what you're doing too. Just help me hold things together. Until we can't do it anymore, so that whoever it is that gets us out of here and away from whatever the hell it is that's hunting us can do their duty. 052 fought hard, and the tears stayed in her eyes. She would not let them flow. 053, impossibly weary, looking sick and unwell, every one of her 68 years on display, nodded barely. She ended the call, and 052 was left looking at her own reflection in the dark glass of the monitor. She studied her own face for a moment. She had more hope than 3 did, but for all of that, she looked just as heartsick, just as scared. I hope I know what I'm doing too. 052 opened the message from Agent Subcommand and read the latest developments. More of the same. What was 89 again? It is the glazed earthenware statue, approximately 3 meters in height. Sometimes it speaks. Its locutions are a Canaanite language and consist of the name or description of A, the demand for protocol M8 to be accomplished, together with instructions for doing so, and a description of the attendant type S event in figurative language. So I guess it must have said something to help then. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 more things on here. Let's see. Night at the movies. 2057 from William Pendergast regarding planetary survey data relevant urgency high. Sir, the latest data from KevTool 5 is in. We have 2 possible exoplanets that are theoretically suited for human life. In addition to being candidates for an eventual colonization effort, the preponderance of Goldilocks zone planets points to an increased likelihood that an alternative site for human civilization can at some point in the future be established. It is also worth noting that our probes continue to find no signs of HEs, or any extraterrestrial life for that matter. If I may express a personal opinion, I find this surprising. Nevertheless, the longer we go without contact, frankly, the better. This seems to lend further credence to the human survival hypothesis. Consider releasing some of this information to help build morale among the operatives. You could use it. Signed, General William Pendergast, lead Project Heimdall. To William Pendergast from 057 regarding planetary survey data relevant. General, I appreciate your last message. It looks like 2 might be right after all. That's something, at least while we're dealing with 001. Couple of things to remember as you look out there. We're beginning to believe that 001 resides somewhere out in physical space. Not like you need any reminders, but look out for anything that might fit the description. That includes communications. It might try to talk to us again. The other thing that you should know is that I was the one back in 54 that got the message from it. That message hasn't been declassified yet, but you're likely to be the first that gets any other messages, so you should know. Some stuff that isn't in the file. Whatever it is, knows about the Foundation because that message came straight to me. And that's because I was the man in charge of finding out what was behind the spike in anomalous activity. It's very familiar with us, General, and it knew enough about me to know I was a movie buff. It left me directions to go to someplace out in the desert. Not so far that I couldn't get there in a few hours, so it knew where I lived. I drove out with a team in some jeeps, and in the middle of nowhere there was a movie house. And I mean the middle of nowhere. No roads, no human habitation. There in a washed out gully was the movie house I'd gone to as a little boy. We were a little more wild in those days, and so I told my boys to wait while I went inside. It speaks to us in performance. He likes it better that way. It could just tell us whatever it wants, really, but this is one more way to mindfuck us, I think. Anyway, I sat in air conditioning inside, colder than hell. As soon as I sat down, the lights dimmed and it showed me a movie. Not like any movie I'd ever seen, but it was most certainly a movie. The title was Planet of Hands in English. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. There wasn't a story as such, more like a disjointed series of images. Some stuff was real famous and I recognized it immediately. A lot of military footage, scenes of large battles, aftermath of bombing campaigns, stuff like that. I recognized Stalingrad from the newsreels, and there was some scenes of what I assume was the Battle of Passchendaele. I didn't realize there were movies of that. Mixed in with that, though, were other things. Some were film scenes, same quality as the other stuff, of what had to have been other events from history. Mass starvations, a volcano eruption or two, villages of Indians being run through by Spanish conquistadors. Not very subtle. Then the scenes of the sites started. Still shots of buildings and facilities, all of which I knew to be ours. Pretty clear message for us there. Are you with me so far? Strange stuff, but nothing we hadn't encountered before. That's when it got bad. At the next instant, I was no longer in the theater. I was in my seat, but everything around me had changed. Vibrant colors, oversaturated hues like a mad painter had conjured them. They were everywhere. People, things, places, swirling around me. All of it lit up like neon, so that I could see things after I closed my eyes, and it was just a mass of unspeakable acts. All of the rape, murder, and pillage from thousands of years had been forced into the room, each act phasing into and out of others, moment to moment. I can't recall any image staying in the room more than a few seconds except the scene directly in front of me. It was a Turk, I think. Clothed in a resplendent robe the color of technicolor blood, his face barely visible behind an electric blue beard. He was casually forcing people down onto a sharpened stake embedded in the ground, impaling them over and over. The victim coming into and out of focus, first an old woman, then a soldier, then a child, back to another woman, each one after the other. Bang, bang, bang! The blood would splash onto his robe and he would glow brighter each time. He didn't look angry or hateful. He looked like this was the most natural thing in the world. Pushing someone down onto a stake until it forced its way up through their guts as they screamed until they bled out. If I had focused on another part of the room for any length of time, I think I would have seen similar things. How long this went on, I can't say. I was a younger man then, and I'm not ashamed to say that at a certain point I just covered my eyes and waited for it to stop. I will probably do the same today. When I finally looked up again, the theater was back around me, and the movie was still being screened. What I saw up there was myself, now a part of the movie. I looked obscenely happy. At my age, I don't look into a lot of mirrors, but I tell you, I have never seen a smile like that on myself, then or now. That, more than anything else, has stayed with me. You should never be surprised by an expression on your own face. It's awful. In the movie, I was boarding something, like a big wooden ark, I suppose. Something out of a kid's book about Noah and the flood, purely symbolic. I watched myself on screen as I stepped into the ark. Some other people were getting on with me. A woman, a black man, some children, an old Chinaman. All walks of life, I guess. No one I recognized. When we were all aboard, the ark lifted into the heavens, sailing through the cosmos. It even had the Buck Rogers music in the background as the stars whizzed by. The ark came to what I assumed was a planetary system of some kind. A planet looking a lot like Earth. Blue and white and brown and green, at the center of a wild system of moons. I thought of an atom. The ark moved closer and closer to one of the moons until it came into view. This wasn't like Earth. This was a darkened nightscape, illuminated by fires dotting the land. All that was visible was soot, smoke, fire, a few rusty scraps of metal twisted into big man-sized shapes. You know how the music swells when the movie ends? That was happening as we all disembarked as the ship touched down on the night moon. All of the characters on the screen looking just ecstatic with joy. As I said, disconcerting when you see something like that on your own face. The movie was fading out now, but rather than the end placard appearing like it does, some other text appeared, this time in Russian. I can't say that. Which we think was intended to be something like, "Come home" instead. Why it started in English and finished in Russian, I have no idea. Maybe some smart-ass commentary on the Cold War, which would be a thing of hope in dealing with this thing. Fallibility. I have my suspicions as to why this doesn't show up in the main file. That doesn't matter, though. You need context for any future attempts at communication from 001. Now you have it. Watch yourself. 7. Alright then. And that brings us to a standard Dream Support 66Y991. And how long is that going to be? That's not that long. Document 990-3. Dr. Blank reported a manifestation of SCP-990 during a dream occurring 17 hours ago. Per emergency orders distributed to all personnel regarding possible data on 001, the doctor filed the following report and forwarded it to the director of Site-17. The report was subsequently transmitted to Overwatch Command. Form 66Y, Standard Dream Report, Personnel Dr. Blank, estimated degree of recall 60%, anomalous entity present, yes. Likelihood of actionable intelligence, high. Description: SCP-990 is dressed in the same suit, looking the same as ever. I recognize him immediately. He's the clearest element in any dream he visits. His face changes a lot from dream to dream, but this time it's changing from one moment to the next. I attribute it to the high stress of the past couple of days. He tells me he's going to show me some things. I feel apprehension, and I wonder what burnt-out ruin he's going to show me, because that has to be what this is about, right? Our time has come, and this is going to be what awaits us. I try to wake up, but I can't do it. And it feels like I'm sitting at the bottom of a pool, and I can't will myself to go to the surface. I don't think I felt panic like that in a dream before. 990 shakes his head. I can't tell if it's him keeping me here, or if it's the dream itself. We've never been able to figure out what kind of control he has. He says, "I'm going to guide you, blank. But I need something of you first," and he points at my left hand. It's a dream, right? Even with all of the things we've encountered in this field, I've never seen anyone harmed in that way. I hold out my hand, 990 nods at me, and he takes something out of his coat. It looks like a blade of some kind. It's got a sharp edge at least, not a knife. More like something from a lawnmower or some piece of industrial machinery. Before I have time to ask what's going on, he's brought the blade down through my wrist, lightning fast. I look at my hand terrified, and I'm sure it's going to fall off, and blood is going to start spraying at any second, but nothing happens. I stare in shock for a few seconds. The pain is real, but I'm afraid to move my arm because my hand is going to fall off if I do. 990 looks sympathetic, and he tells me that I can move my hand, it's fine. Then he says that we're out of reach of 001 now, and we can talk. I wiggle my fingers, and they work like they should, but my hand is numb. The feeling is disconcerting, yet the sensation of panic from earlier is gone. Things feel more like normal now, except for my hand. He looks at me. He's got my face now. I get the impression that I'm someone else now. Feels like a woman, but I'm not certain. Identity shifts a little as we talk. He tells me that he can give me 3 revelations before 001 finds him again. Suddenly we're sitting outside, in the night air, under the stars. There are 9 moons in the sky, varying sizes and phases. I'm in a child's body. He's still with me. He speaks, holding up one finger. You are not in your proper place, he says. I ask him what that means. Me personally? The Foundation? Mankind? He ignores me. He raises a second finger. 052 was absolutely correct, and she is disastrously wrong. The reference to specific Foundation personnel was unnerving. I start to speak, but I can tell he's not going to listen. The third finger, the third revelation. He leans in close to me. This is the trickiest one, he tells me. He asked me to commit this one to memory above all others, so I have for this report. This is the last thing he said to me before I woke up. The primary mover behind what you know as 001, above all other things, is love. That was when I awoke at my workstation. Interesting. I probably should just keep reading, because if this is the entire proposal, then I'm almost done, actually. Unless the rest of them are super long. Then it's going to be another dream report, so that should be interesting. After action report, 2272. Yeah. Yeah, this one's a tale. Okay, so I think I'm gonna call it here, and I will continue at the after action report, and then probably finish up. So in the next episode, we'll be finishing the second half of Kalinin's proposal. If you like this video, a like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well, so that you're notified of future uploads. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later.